Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are going to work the set A, B, and C in the reteaching section of topic 14. We are looking at page 571 and 572. Our homework tonight is just simply going to be two problems, number 2 in set A and number 2 in set B. Now I have some extra paper right here that we're going to use, especially when we get down here to set B. And I want to show you a strategy that I've been able to share with a couple of you for figuring out elapsed time that seems to be very helpful. Okay, so let's get started with set A. At the beginning we see, what is the time to the nearest minute? The hour hand is between 10 and 11. The time is after 10 o'clock. Count by fives from the 12 to the 5. So we get 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then after counting by fives, count the marks by 1. So then it would be 26, 27. So the digital time is 10:27. It is 27 minutes after 10 o'clock, or we could say that it is 33 minutes before 11 o'clock. So let's look at this one. Remember that for minutes, count numbers on the clock by fives. Then count the marks by 1. Write the time shown on each clock in 2 ways. Okay, so let's look at number 1. When I look at the hour hand, I can see that it is between the 12 and the 1. So I know that the hour is 12. And then to determine the minute hand, I'm going to count by fives for the numbers, and then I'll count by ones for the little marks after that. So I have 5, 10, 15, and then I have to count the individual marks, 16 and 17. So the time is 12:17. Now it tells us to write the time in 2 ways. So what's another way that we could write this time? We could write it as we just saw with the digital time 12:17, or we could say it is 17 minutes after 12 o'clock. So remember, you're writing it in 2 ways. You'll be answering number 2 for homework tonight. Now let's look at set B. Set B is that elapsed time. Tomas starts practicing his viola at 4:25 p.m. He practices until 5:05 p.m. How much time does he practice? The amount of time is under 1 hour, so we'll count the minutes from the start time to the end time by fives. So we're looking, he starts it at 4:25 and he practices until 5:05. So starting here, we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and then 35, 40. There's 40 minutes. They slipped over to the other clock because although an hour has not passed, a new hour has appeared. So they switched to the other clock so you could see. So there are 40 minutes between 4:25 p.m. and 5:05 p.m. So Tomas practices for 40 minutes. Now I'm going to show you another strategy for solving elapsed time, and it's called the T-chart. So on the T-chart, we're going to first read the problem, but then we're going to set it up in a T to determine elapsed time. Basketball practice begins at 6:30 p.m. and lasts until 8:15 p.m. How much time does practice last? So, I'm going to put B1 on my paper. And then I'm going to see that it begins at 6:30 p.m. So I'm going to write that at the top. Now I'm going to make my T right here. See, my letter looks like a letter T. And it ends at 8:15 p.m. Now, they're asking us how much time does the practice last. So you could use the face of the clock to determine. You could use a number line, or you might find this T-chart strategy helpful. So I'm going to look first of all at 6:30. From 6:30, could I go forward 1 hour to 7:30? Yes, I could. So I'm going to write 7:30, and that is 1 hour. Now, could I go another hour from 7:30 to 8:30? No, because that would put me past the time that I'm supposed to stop. So now I have to go to minutes. So from 7:30, I think of time that I know I could figure quickly. And I know from 7:30 to 8 o'clock, I could do that. So I'm going to put 8 o'clock. And from 7:30 to 8 is 30 minutes. And I'm going to abbreviate minutes with M-I-N. But I'm still not at 8:15. So then I'm going to look, and I know that I could go from 8 to 8:15, and that would be 15 minutes. So I'm going to write 8, 15, 15 minutes. Now here's where I'm going to stop. I know I'm going to stop because my time that it's telling me to stop is matching the end of my number line here. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to count. How many hours do I have? Well, I have 1 hour. And now I'm going to add my minutes. I've got 30 and 15. So I'm just going to real quick add it right here. 0 plus 5 is 5. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now I could have written it over here if that's confusing to you. I could have written it anywhere. I could have gone here and put 30 plus 15 is 45. So I have my time that elapsed is 1 hour, 45 minutes. So when I look at number 1, my answer is 1 hour, 45 minutes. Now for number 2, you're going to solve number 2. You can choose which direction or which strategy you would like to use. For number 3, it says Jean goes for a horseback ride. She leaves the barn on her horse at 2:10 p.m. and comes back at 2:50 p.m. How long was her ride? Well, I'm going to show you again this T chart. Again, it's B3. And she leaves the barn on her horse at 2:10. So my time is going to start at 2:10. And she comes back at 2:50. Again, I'm going to look. Could I add an hour? Well, if I add an hour to 2:10, my start time, it would be 3:10. That's past my ending time, so I cannot use an hour. So now I'm going to go to minutes. So from 2:10, I know I could go to 2:30 pretty easily. And to 2:30 would be 20 minutes. Still, I'm not at 2:50, but I know that I could go from 2:30 to 2:50, and that's another 20 minutes. Now, I've got my matching time, and I know I need to stop and add my minutes. Well, I can look quickly and see 20 plus 20 is 40, so my answer is 40 minutes. Now, if this was a helpful strategy for you, great. If not, if you prefer the number line or the clock face, that's fine as well. I'm going to flip it over and look at my last problem that we're going to be working. says you can show addition and subtraction of time intervals on a number line. Now we talked before we could use the number line, or we could simply just use an equation, and we could add or subtract however the problem is set up. In the morning, Xavier runs for 19 minutes. In the evening, he runs for 27 minutes. How much time does he spend running in all? So basically, we're adding 19 plus 27 equals question mark. So therefore, we could see that 19 plus 27 equals 46. So Xavier runs for 46 minutes. Let's look at our problem that we're going to work together. It says solve by drawing a number line or a bar diagram. It takes Don 52 minutes to drive to work. He has already driven for 16 minutes. How many more minutes will it take Don to drive to work? So I'm going to go with that bar diagram. And I know that the total, it says that it takes 52 minutes. So I know the total of my bar diagram is going to be 52. I also know that he already has driven for 16 minutes. So we're trying to solve for how many more minutes will it take him to get to work. So what do you suppose we're going to do? That's right, we're going to subtract. So I take 52 minus 16. I cannot take 6 away from 2, so I go to the tens column. I take one of the tens, that leaves 4 here. I bring the 10 to the ones column. 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. 4 minus 1 is 3. So, what is our answer? It is 36 minutes. So, how many more minutes? It's 36 minutes. Now, what would my equation look like if I had set it up like that? Well, it would look like 52 minus 16 equals blank, and then we would know 52 minus 16 equals 36. Now, I would like to show you one more problem with using the T-chart from the lesson that we did 14-2. It's one of the ones that we skipped. It's that higher order thinking. So let's take a look at this one. A basketball tournament started at 12:15 p.m. and ended at 4 o'clock p.m. Did the tournament last more than 4 hours? Well, let's find out. So it started at 12:15 p.m. I'm going to make my T-chart. And it ended at 4 o'clock p.m. So from 12:15, I know I can add an hour. That would be 1:15. And if I add another hour, that would be 2:15. If I add another hour, that would be 3:15. Now, if I add another hour, it's going to be 4:15. That's going to put me past 4 o'clock. So I cannot add hours, but now I can add minutes. So from 3:15, if I go to 3:30, that would be 15 minutes. And then from 3:30, I know I could hit all the way up to 4 o'clock, would be 30 minutes. Now, 4 o'clock matches my end time. So now I can add my total time, elapsed time over here. So 1, 2, 3 hours. And then I look at my total minutes, and I have 15 plus 30. 5 plus 0 is 5. 1 plus 3 is 4. So it's 45 minutes. So my answer is 3 hours and 45 minutes. Now, if I look back at the question, it says, did the tournament last more than 4 hours? And we can clearly see that the answer would be no. And then when it says to explain, we could refer back to our T-chart and see that it did not last 4 hours. Well, I hope this was helpful for you. You only have 2 problems to do tonight for your homework, and I have created a math practice that I will be sending out to the parents that we will work on Monday, and your test will be Tuesday. Remember, boys and girls, if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day.